Good morning, Year 5. I hope you're well. We're going to crack on with this week's learning and we're going to start with looking at dividing by 10. So what I would like you to do is pause this video, see if you can have a go at these questions for me, and then we'll come back together and I'll talk you through them one by one. So, number 1. 100 is the same as how many tens. We need to know how many tens are in 100, and we know that there are 10 tens in 100. In terms of ones, we know that there are 10 ones in 10. Therefore, if we have 10 lots of 10 ones, that's going to give us 100. Number 2, £1 is the same as something times 1p. This is the same as saying 100. We know that there are 100 pennies in £1. Linking to the same question at the beginning, £1 equals is the same as something times by 10. Well, we know that there are 10 tens in 100. Obviously, there are 100 pennies in a pound. Therefore, my answer must be 10 times 10. Now, number 3 is a tricky one. We've not covered fractions just yet this term, but let's see if you got this right. So when we're looking for a tenth of something, we're usually looking to divide it by the denominator. Now, the denominator is the bottom number of our fraction. So the question's really asking us, what is 1/10 of 40? Therefore, 40 divided by what? So how many tens are there in 40? We know the answer is 10. Now, same for this one, 1/10 of 40. This links to the previous question. What is 40 divided by 10? So how many tens, groups of tens are there in 40? We know there are 4. Congratulations if you got this all right, especially those fraction ones. Those are a tricky one. So today we're going to be looking at dividing. So we looked last week at being able to multiply by 10, 100 and 1,000. This week we're going to have a look at doing the inverse, so the opposite of multiplying. So we're going to learn how to divide. So to help me with this first question, we're going to look at some arrays. So here is part of my array. So here I have one row and there are 10 counters in this row. So I have one group of 10. We're going to now create ourselves an array and we're going to count up in 10. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110 and 120. I want you to just have a think about how that array might be able to help us in relation to this first question. So the question wants to know, what is 20 divided by 10? So I have to think about what that question's actually asking me to do. Now the question's asking me effectively, how many groups of 10 are there in 20? What would I have to multiply 10 by to give me 20? So let's use our array and see if our array can help us. So there we have 20. Now looking at my arrays, I can see that I have 1, 2. I have 2 rows, each one with 10 counters in. Therefore, 20 is the same as saying 2 groups of 10. So I know that I would have to multiply 2 and 10 together to give me 20. Therefore, my answer is 2. Let's see if we can apply the same knowledge to this question. So 60 divided by 10 equals. So let's find ourselves 60 on our array. So there I have 60 counters. Now looking at my array, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 groups of 10. Okay, so 6 groups of 10 is the same as saying 10 lots of 6. 6 times 10 must be 6. Right, using that knowledge, let's see if we can warm your brains up. Pause the video and have a go at questions 1 to 3 on your worksheet, please. So let's have a look at this problem together. So this question says 220 divided by 10 equals something. So let's use our base 10 to represent this number. So I have 2 lots of 100 square grids and I have 2 rows of 10. Now, dividing by 10, the easiest thing for me to do is I'm going to need to convert these hundreds into tens so that they are all equal. So 200 tens plus 2 tens, we need to find how many groups of 10 there are, and the easiest way to do that is we're going to have to break down those 100 blocks. So let's count them down in 10. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay, so 100 is equal to 10 tens. However, my question says 2 lots of hundreds, so I have 2 hundreds and 2 tens. So I then need to work out what the other one is. So I now have 2 hundreds, and 2 hundreds is the same as saying 20 lots of 10. So not only do I now have 20 lots of tens, but I also have the 2 additional tens that were at the end of my number. So all together, I have got 10, 20, add to the 2. So I have 22 tens all together. Therefore, 220 is equal to 22 groups of 10. Therefore, 220 divided by 10 must be 22. Let's see if we can apply the same knowledge to this one. So here I have 350 divided by 10. Now, I'm going to use my 10 square grid here to be able to help me with this one. So here's my first grid. I have 10. 10 lots of 10 we know is 100. But I need 350. So I'm going to need another one. Okay, so now I have 2 lots of 10 tens. So I have 2 lots of 100. So I have 200. I'm going to add another one. Altogether so far I have 300, but my number I started with was 350. So that means I need to add 5 more lots of 10. So 5 times 10 is 50. Then all we need to do is we need to count them up together. So if I count my 3 lots of 100 and my 50, my answer is 35. Now let's see if we can apply the same knowledge to our money problem solving question. So this question says £3 at 50p divided by 10b. So the question is asking me how many 10p's there are in £3 and 50 pence. So I'm going to represent this again using my 10 square grid, but I'm going to use my 10p coins. So I know that there are 10 lots of 10p in £1, but I need £3. So I'm going to have to add another one, that's £2, and add another one is £3. I'm still missing 50p, so I'm going to need to include another box, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lots of 10p is 50p. Same principle as before, all we need to do now is add them together. So I have 10, 20, 30, plus the extra 5, the answer is 35. So the principles of the questions are still exactly the same. They give you the same answer, but one is just using numbers and the other one is using monetary value. So based on that knowledge, let's see if we've properly warmed your brains up now. I'd like you to pause the video and I'd like you to have a go at questions 4 to 6 on your worksheet, please. So we looked at using our place value chart in our lessons from last week, and we learned that when we multiply by 10, 100 and thousands, our digits move 1, 2 or 3 places to the left depending on how many zeros we are multiplying by. However, when we do divide, we have to do the inverse. We have to do the opposite of multiplying. So rather than our digits moving to the left, our digits need to move to the right. Again, using our 10, 100 and thousands, those zeros are going to tell us how many spaces they need to move. So when we are multiplying from 1s to 10s, it gets 10 times bigger. When we're going from our 10s to our hundreds, that number is also getting 10 times bigger. When we multiply from hundreds to thousands, that number also gets 10 times bigger. However, when we're dividing, our numbers need to go the opposite way. Therefore, our number is getting smaller. So when we go from thousands to hundreds, it's now 1/10 of the size. So it's now 10 times smaller. When we go from hundreds to tens, again, that number is also 10 times smaller. And when we divide by 10 to ones, again, that is still 10 times smaller. So that's 1/10 smaller than the original number. So to find 1/10, we have to divide by 10. Now, the clue we learnt last week is the zeros. It's going to tell us how many places we need to move. So when we're dividing by 10, we are moving our digits 1 place to the right because it only has 1 0. So here, this is what happens when we multiply. We know that our numbers get 10 times bigger from each place value column, and all of our digits are moving to the left. But when we divide, our numbers are getting 10 times smaller, and all of our digits will move 1 place to the right. So let's put it into context. So we have 430 divided by 10. So I need to think, what is the question asking me? Well, I know I'm looking for multiples of 10, and I'm starting with 430, which means I'm going to need a smaller number for my answer. So it must be asking me how many groups of 10 are there in 430. And obviously we know if we're dividing, the number's getting smaller, which means our answer also has to be smaller. So there's our 400s. There are our 3 lots of 10s, our 30, and we have no 1s. So we know when we're dividing, we have to move our digit 1 place to the right. So we're going to move our 10s. Now, we didn't have to move any 1s, otherwise our 1s would have moved into a decimal column. But we don't have any 1s, so we don't have to worry ourselves about that. So our 1s have now become 3, and our hundreds are going to move 1 place to our 10s column. If we now read our new number, our answer is now 43. Go back and have a look at the video if you're stuck or confused on anything. And then once you've done that, I'd like you to have a go at completing the rest of the worksheet. And tomorrow we will move on and look at dividing by 100.